Have you ever set a goal and got disappointed because you didn't reach it?
Mhm.
I know. That's the answer
Many,
to
many,
that
many
many times.
times.
How about having someone give you their opinion, which you took as a piece of advice that led to failure or a lesson learned?
Oh, that's deep, girl. That's deep because, um, yeah, that's deep. It has costed me a lot. And again, if you watch the last episode where knowledge leads to experience and experience leads to understanding, this is it. This is
Yeah,
on that level. But here we're going a little bit deeper on it, especially on that question about how about having someone give you the opinion which you
yeah,
took as a piece of advice? That's very powerful because most of the time when people are sharing the opinion, subconsciously our mind can take it as an advice, right?
yeah,
But we are forgetting that that opinion, even if it was an advice, it's a snapshot that
yeah.
this we don't know the frame of reference of the person who is sharing this opinion or advice, right?
Mhm.
Have completely different frame of reference. On this note, I remember a long time ago, I'm talking about almost 12, 13 years ago, I was with my mentor. He told me, Mubarak, sometimes you're going to see two wise people talking and you're the third person, right? Or
Mm.
you're two of you, a wise person and you, and they're going to tell you something and you think you understood it.
Mm.
And down the road, 3 months, 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, and you're like, that's not what they said. You know, this is what we're going to be going deep here of why it happens and what to do about it and to be aware of it so that you don't be a victim of it.
Yeah, for sure. So this is Anna, and I'm with Mubarak.
Yes.
So in this episode, episode 16, we'll talk about that perspective shift that Mubarak was alluding to. It will ultimately change the way that you look at goal setting and how you view your problem or someone else's problem for that matter, right? That's why this episode is called a perspective shift on progression. So
Yes.
let's talk about that. Like, so what is that perspective shift that you can provide them when you are that third person seeing two wise people chat
Mhm.
about something?
Mhm. Yeah. The first thing about perspective shift, you need to realize about the laws of universe. Again, we have talked about it in this podcast. If you're following us, you may have familiar with it. If not, you can go back and watch some of previous episodes. But there is things, there is the truth, and there is no, there is what's true, and there is the truth. Those are two
Mhm.
different things, right? When you understand that, what do I mean? The truth is you're unique. There's
Mhm.
nobody like you,
Yeah.
you know, meaning that as you are here today, you're not just Mubarak you see here is a correction of however long I have been on this planet, right? So you judging me or having a perception of me just from what you see or from what you hear, which we have heard about it, that never judge a book by its cover.
Mm.
You need
Yeah.
to read the book. This is what we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
So when you're with that wise person, right, and they share an opinion or they share an advice with you, right, you need to know that that's not you. That's their point of view. And
Mm.
they have a frame of reference where they're coming from. Without it, that information means nothing,
Yeah.
right? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So this comes back again in this world we're in with social media, with Google, where you have to Google everything.
Mhm.
I cannot tell you how much these good tools that we have created a lot of problem,
Yeah.
right? Because seeing your goals or the world through stories or trends over time versus snapshot is what's going to change everything. What do I mean by that? When you go on Google and you type in, what comes is a snapshot.
Yeah.
So now if you make a decision based on that snapshot, you have biased information because you don't have
The
the
full story.
trend story.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't know what mood, what interest, or what's the agenda of this person giving you those advice, opinion. Now you take that information and you're using it to make a decision that it's the most important decision of your life. You see how wrong it is? So that's why we're saying we need to change that perspective and start saying, okay, hey, wait a minute. If I want to progress, I cannot just base everything on a snapshot. Let me stop and ask myself, is this all it is? Or is this snapshot where on a timeline does it fit? Could it be other information that I'm missing that can give me a different view of what I'm seeing right now?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to give you an example. For example, you have a business, right? And you wake up and you look at your calendar and the calendar is empty. Nobody booked a session with you. So that's a snapshot. What does it mean? Guess what? 100 people going to have 100 reasons why. But how can we bring those 100 people to a same conclusion is what's important. Bring all those 100 people to say, yes, we agree, this is the problem of why we don't have people booking up. But in order to come to that conclusion, we have to go in the back.
Yeah.
Let's say 30 days leading to that day that we don't have appointments and see what events that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't post anything on social media. Oh, my link to my calendar is broken. Oh, this and that. You see? So there is 100 reasons. So, but I cannot look at your calendar and say, oh, you're a bad business person.
Right.
Your business is going to fail. And the same time, which again, what you do on Google, you go see someone showing you a snapshot of their calendar, showing you that it's full of appointments, which I can just do right now. I can just go on my calendar and book myself. But now, because I'm showing to you with my biased intention, saying, hey guys, look, my calendar is full, but I made it up. I just changed it. So how are you going to find out? Hey, Mubarak, excuse me, can you show me where people book? Oh, where are these people coming from?
Yeah.
Oh, what did you post on those places for them to, what was the call action that made them come to book? Mubarak, you're full of shit because you never posted anything online. There's no traffic coming to your website. So where did these people you're showing me that booked on your calendar came from? You see? Isn't it what's happening every day?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you have to say about this? Azana, you can see I can talk until tomorrow. I know you're just listening in. So
Sure. Well, I mean, you said it earlier about being individual, right? Your individuality. You have unique experiences, unique gifts and talents, right? I like the example that you gave me when we were planning the episode out a couple days ago, when you're just like, if you're just you can't just give somebody your opinion, because if they take it as advice, right, as a piece of advice, and they take action on it, you could mislead them if you don't know where that person is coming from, right? Because we all bring different individualities into the experience, into our own experiences. And so um I'll give you an example. I not knowing, like when people meet me for the first time, for example, when we start talking about like nutrition and fitness and stuff like that, they don't know who I am, who, what my background is. They start giving me all this advice. I'm like, you don't even know what I know about fitness and nutrition. You're giving me advice, so that's kind of like that same situation, right? I can't just, like, if I don't know you, Mubarak, and you tell me you have this problem, I can't just like spout out a solution without knowing, where that problem came from, what have you done so far with that problem, all that good stuff, right? It's kind of like taking on a client and giving them a package of some sort that you came up with without even knowing what their needs are.
It's unfortunately that's the problem of the internet nowadays, because that's, we have seen it, we see it every day, we hear clients coming us telling us stories. But Anna, you reminded me sometimes ago, I came to you and I told you, hey, my doctor, because I remember that time you had recommended me to go to try keto diet, right? And I went and did blood work, and my doctor says, oh, Mbarak, no, your cholesterol is high, right? You remember that incident, right?
Yes, I remember.
So that's a snapshot.
Yeah.
That the doctor, what he was looking, it's a snapshot. He didn't say, Mubarak, for the last 60 days I have tracked your blood. This is what has led to the cholesterol being high. No. And I came to you and he says, Mubarak, okay, cholesterol is high means nothing. Can you go ask him about the level of this one item in the blood? And fun enough, I have a good relationship with my doctor. I just called him directly. I'm like, hey, doctor, yes, about the results you just told me, I have a question. How about this? He had the information and he told me, oh, that one is good. You don't need to worry about that. It's just this. And guess what? What he was telling me to worry about, I shouldn't be worrying about it anyway.
Right.
Right. Why? Because I was asking an expert, which was you, who knew more about that more than my doctor, because my doctor, he's not an expert on blood analysis and understanding those things. He's a general practitioner. You see how sometimes this information can be dangerous, right? So right there, you gave me certainty and clarity. I'm like, oh, I don't need to worry. So, but of course, when you're on a keto diet, your cholesterol and other things are going to be out of work because of this and this, right? But you knew that I was on a keto diet. You had those information prior. You were asking me questions, right? So you who is listening to us and you're in a position of power, you're in a position of authority, you have to be careful about your opinions, about your advices that you're sharing, because they can cause more harm than good, right? Fun enough, as we're talking and recording this, it just happened on the internet, right? Andrew Tete, he's one of the guys right now. If you just put his name, he's trending like nothing before. Andrew Tete right now, he has been banned from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, every major social media account. Why? Because of what we're just talking about. Because he shared his opinions that people took as advice or took them as the truth or as misinformation and used it against him.
Wow.
Yeah, he just did a public release, and when you look at it now, he gives you what I'm talking about, a frame of reference from his point of view, he says, Mubarak, this is why, because what people are taking, they're taking my conversation and tear it to piece and taking just a snapshot.
It's out of context.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah.
A snapshot is out of context. You need a context, whatever. You need the whole picture.
Yes.
Right. It makes sense if you can go watch a previous episode that we just talked about, where we talked about rolling averages versus a snapshot.
Yeah.
Because if people had watched the whole video for Andrew Tate, they would have a completely different conclusion of the story rather than taking a piece of information. And this is why I say that it's very dangerous.
Yes.
You have fall for it. I have fall for it. You who is listening us, you have fall for it. You're judging a book by its cover.
Yeah, definitely.
We are not taking time to go read. So if you're in a position of authority, please, before you give an opinion, before you give an advice, you need to consider to have more information on the other side, right? So that's why now I remember I was talking to you, Anna, and telling other people that now that we have this platform, before anybody asks me a question, I'm going to ask them, have you been listening to my podcast? Right? So that at least, do you know where I'm coming from?
Yes.
Because this podcast gives you the insight of my thinking, of my perspectives, how I see the world. So if you don't know, my opinion and my advice may be the dangerous thing you have ever had.
Yeah.
So it cannot be the best episode right now on the importance of listening to our podcasts and then make your conclusion before you take the advice and the decision we give you. And also that's why we recommend that not only that, take us on this challenge. On this press, if you go to Organic Rich Eggs, you'll see that you have opportunity, right, to come and experience this with us. We offering 2 months of coaching where you can come, ask us questions, and see us working. Those are 8 sessions that you can have access to have questions and see other clients. And basically, you're checking us out before you can take our advice. So we're not just telling you things, we're giving you also to see that we're practicing what we're preaching.
Yes, definitely. I'm glad that we're talking about this. And again, this just happened yesterday where like a client, one that we coached together, asked me a question about whether or not he should add a specific service to his business. Before because we've been working with him probably for like at least 3 or 4 months or something like that, I knew it just wasn't a good fit for him. So he asked me a question of whether this is the idea I have, should I add this service to my business? And I'm like, before I answer that question, let me ask you a question. Does this thing light you up? And guess what? He didn't have an answer for me, which makes me think for sure that it does not light him up, because his answer would be totally different and certain if it did. So I'm like, there's your answer, right? Because if I knew him, I had the context of having worked with him for the last 4 months, right? And so if I just like, yeah, you should, because it's going to make you money in the short term, right? But I asked first, does it fit the vision? Does it even light you up? And are you even good at it, right? Like, yes, you can probably do it, but can somebody else do it? Because it's what brings them joy, right? So in that case, if you can refer whatever clients you have that need that specific service, because like he's wanting to offer it because he knows a business owner that needs that service. Like, so if you know somebody who's really good at that, they would be better off working with that person and you referring them to him. That would be a win-win situation, right? But me, if I just jump to the conclusion, is like, oh yeah, you should just make money in the short term and just do that, right? Because it's gonna accomplish the goal of making money in the short term. Not thinking about the context of his vision, where he wants to take his business, right? So it's applicable in many, many, many situations, right? When you were talking about the cholesterol thing, there's a huge misconception about cholesterol too, right? It's still up for debate, right? But science is finding about cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease, right? And so if you just take that snapshot, it was like cholesterol is bad for you, it causes heart disease, and you just believe your doctor, and you don't take a second opinion or a third opinion of other experts or other doctors, right? Again, kind of seeing a bigger picture when you have more data, right? Not just a snapshot of one doctor's opinion, right? Even though it is an expert opinion, it's applicable in so many areas.
Very, very
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
So, what's our lesson from this episode, Mubarak?
Yeah, the power and the value of individuality,
Yeah,
right? First of all, we need to understand that before we do anything, that you as an individual, you're a collection of so many other aspects. Without those aspects, right, there is nothing, right? You're
yeah,
not just a snapshot, right?
yeah.
So when you bring that, and fun enough, I did another training in another community that we're in where I was talking about there's two types of questions, and this resonates with this episode here. And those two types of questions, they're the most important question, and also they're common questions when people wants to move ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
The question always is, especially for people who are in authority and in power, other people are going to come asking you how to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I'm going to come and ask you, hey, Anna, how do I grow my business? Right? That's a question, right? Because you are the who I am assuming that I have the answer. But if Anna just goes up and say, hey, Mubarak, how you grow your business is you go and do organic reach on Facebook, and you go in people's Facebook groups and this and this and this. Guess what? That's based on Anna's experience, not your experience. But guess what Anna will do, which is, I know for sure, she just told you what she will do. She's not going to respond to that question without you asking you another question. And that's the most important question, that before you go asking how to do something, you need to pay attention and you need to have clarity and certainty to this other question that people in a position of power, people in knowledge, people who you're going to seek counsel from, people who their opinion matters to them, you need to answer this question before you come with the how-to question. Do you know what the question is that Anna is going to ask you? Why? Why do you want to grow your business?
Mm-hmm.
Because the answer you give her, if you have taken time to think about, because guess what, Anna, we have, as you said, you asked them a question. They didn't have an answer to that question. They didn't know, right? So as you see in another episodes ahead, we're going to go deep on this, but for the sake of this question, this episode, Anna is going to ask you why. So if you don't have clarity to why you want to build a business, a successful business, if you don't have certainty, which is what she's looking to see when she asks you why, she want to see how clear are you, and how certain are you, even for her wasting her time or taking her time of day to answer your question. Because if you have no clarity and you have no certainty to the reasons why you want her to give you the answers, it's a waste of time. Second, she wants to know what direction to guide you. Maybe based on your why, Facebook is not the right place.
Right.
You see how important it is? So before you say cancel, before you try to go, you need to know the reason why in the first place you're seeking it. And if you can share that with someone before, it changes everything. Then that opinion, then that advice, it's going to be more applicable to you because there is a consideration of your individuality, because the why answers that unique ability of yours. Why you need that, not so general.
Yeah. Yeah, not just the unique ability either. It's also your unique desires and needs, right, as a human being, because we all have different needs and desires. So yeah, considering all that in your as part of your individuality.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So anyway, this has been Organic Reach X.
We show you how to go with the flow organically in your business.
Until next time.
Yeah.